Like, the odds of this being executed so well is so low when you see the concept. Dad tired at his family being on the phone all the time. Like, this could have been an easily miscalculated risk that ended up speaking over their audience, but they did it. These crazy people did it. So as I'll be discussing later in a full review and on my Reddit where you can also share what you thought, The Mitchells vs. the Machines took a concept that's admittedly pretty safe to the point of being dated and turned it into a very enjoyable movie. This isn't meant to knock on Sony Pictures Animation or the team. There are a lot of people on the team that have a lot of talent. In fact, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, two of the three producers of this movie, were a part of three animated movies that I have a lot of respect for. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. All three of these movies played around with what animation could do and look like, and it's why when they were announced as being a part of this, a lot of people felt like the movie wouldn't be that bad. However, a premise like this has the risk of being rather annoying that oftentimes it's adults writing through the voice of being younger, which at best can be relatable, and at worst can be offensive, insulting, or condescending. However, like the driving skills of our main character Katie Mitchell, they managed to avoid a lot of that even when it appeared that they were heading in for disaster. So the movie follows a road trip kind of story turned on its head with a blend of sci-fi, as insert smartphone company here makes other smart products that eventually go rogue in an attempt to take over the planet. This could have easily been a stereotypical we shouldn't bat an eye at a technology-free life sort of move. However, they do end up giving Rick, the father of Katie, the main character, depth that I could imagine tugging on the strings of people who end up watching, even if you know of his initial stance. The animation was also something that I was interested to see in movement. Like Sponge on the Run, it has this sort of style that makes it seem 3D without looking conventionally 3D. And I guess giving that Sony Pictures Animations wants to keep up their streak of having more of their movies be visually stunning, because there's been more than a few. In fact, speaking of one of their movies, this movie seemed to capture the relatability of a modern world better than the Emoji Movie. While there were things in this movie that seemed passé, like hearing the Nyan Cat theme song or seeing old animal memes in a kids movie, it's not the worst thing and it is to be expected. And speaking of memes, I do feel and empathize with the main character here. She creates very different types of videos that don't convert into a conventional style. Of course, her family wouldn't understand it. They didn't have this technology when they were growing up. More on that later. She's honestly a good character, not exactly perfect, but a good character who does end up showing some flaws herself. The mom, Linda, is also pretty good. She has her few moments within this where she displays her own internal or external conflicts. However, I did have gripes about her character that I will talk about a little bit later. In fact, I also had gripes about her role in the movie and what she kind of ended up to be. The son, Katie's younger brother, Aaron, personally stole the show for me. He came across as the glue that held the family together more than the mother, who was explicitly billed as that. I think the movie would have felt empty without him, as his form of comedy, dialogue, even the way that he said things. The moments when things focused on him really made the movie for me. There's also the dog that I didn't know mirrored a apparently influential pet, Doug the Pug. I didn't know too much about that, and it doesn't really matter because he was kind of just there. However, if you are on the fence about this and you had Netflix, don't go into it thinking that it's going to be Spider-Verse and you'll be just fine. I saw a lot of people comparing the two, saying that one is better, and it's funny to see these day one reactions. People are always going to be so volatile on the first day and on the first viewing. I'm going to let the movie sit before I say which is better, even though I do kind of have my predictions of what I'm going to be thinking 30 days down the line. However, if you don't want to be spoiled, those are my non-spoilery thoughts. I'll be doing a review on this when I can, so if you're still around and you've already watched it or don't care about spoilers, I found this movie to be cheesy, but in a good way. I actually have to hand it to the marketing department because they portray Rick to be a jerk, but they do it in a way that mirrors the journey that you would take in the movie. The teaser scene in which Rick wanted everyone to look at each other and not be on their phones with no context makes it seem like Rick has an anti-technology bias. However, given the context of him coming home from a long day of work and just wanting to speak to his family and spend time face to face, it doesn't make him seem like a bad guy for that. However, he would go on to break Katie's laptop, break all of their phones, and even reject Katie's ideas in fear of her being a failure. And it's here where the movie turns Rick from being a technology hater into an anxious dad who fears the future of whatever his daughter is going to get into. There's a lingering conflict, the back and forth, that happens between Rick and Katie throughout the entire movie, as the mother and son hover over, often as the ones to talk to, the ones to vent to, referees, or the people to change the conversation, basically the people who make sure that the family sticks together. It was the driving force, no pun intended, of this road trip, as rather than making it an easy flight to Katie's dream school, Rick thought that it would be a better idea to drive her over cross country, treating her the way that he would if she was very young. And the movie spares no expense of showing you home videos of Katie being very young and the way that her dad would treat her. As far as the rest of the characters here, I did like the two robots from the PAL company that end up being corrupted, Eric and Deborah Bot 5000, as they made the fight between the two sides, human and robot, a lot more fun, and their antics throughout the trip seemed genuinely entertaining. Contrary to what you may think, I actually didn't mind the dynamic between Aaron and Abby, the neighbor of the Posey family, more on them in a second. As riddled with cliches as it was, this entire movie was, but going into this movie you'd have to accept that, given the premise, the setup for every character, even the graphics for this movie. It's not like any of it is super groundbreaking, but it doesn't need to be. It's actually the type of fun entertainment that I enjoyed from The Secret Life of Pets 2, where it wasn't a groundbreaking adventure, but it was a fun adventure, and that's what matters. I did state before that there was a gripe that I had with the mom, Linda, that while the makeup of the family is typical and the opposite of thinking outside the box, I still feel like her character was the weakest. She kind of felt like this B person in the family, almost in the shadows, and she kind of retained a lot of emotion, true emotion that she felt, and sort of passively tried to soft fix things or talk to people one-on-one after the disaster is already done, which, while it is realistic, there isn't much that she did that stuck with me. Even towards the end, where her soft and nurturing character was ripped out from under her when she saw her son, Aaron, in a space pod shooting off into the dark void of space, I've seen better mama bear moments, no pun intended, from better places. Simply put, the action in this movie didn't really stick out or redeem her character as anything more than a mouthpiece for a few lines of dialogue that couldn't be said by any other character. I feel like the movie took a large misstep in the way that they portrayed the neighbors, the Posies, as throughout the movie, the mom, Linda, fixates on social media posts that they put out, showing themselves to be a perfect family compared to the Mitchells, which are very much not perfect. Towards the end, the Mitchells do get the Posies' admirations, and specifically, Linda gets a follow, even showing that she didn't know that the Posies didn't follow them in the first place. And I felt like that was a tacky way to wrap that entire conflict up. A better way, personally, would have been to show the cracks in the Posey family, showing that they aren't perfect, and that they do have aspects that they don't show on social media that would show so. It'd be a great way to show that oftentimes the perfect couple or the perfect family is the one that just appears so, rather than is, because the one that is doesn't exist. It also showed Linda to not obsess over other families and compare, because each is a separate journey, even if this one's involves a car that's running on hope and green glob. Probably the best thing, and the thing that I don't think will be talked about enough, is Aaron's reactions to seeing Katie be so confident in telling him that she only says what she says around their dad to get her way, and that her words don't have a lot of weight and that she's kind of being fake, because the movie actually doesn't initially show him thinking about it too much. And that really hit home for me, because later in the movie, their parents would get abducted, and then the memory would come back up about what Katie said, and breaking it to Aaron that she doesn't really feel the way about her dad that she said in front of him, and all of that tension and emotional weight would fall on him, and he would start to cry uncontrollably, seeing his dysfunctional family hit its peak. And that really made me feel for his character the most, because like his mom, he doesn't really have a stake in the race of whether technology is the devil or if his father is overreacting. He sees both sides and has been shown to really just want everyone to work together because that's what's for the best. And when they save the day, I really did enjoy the scene in which a true villain, the original Pound Phone, takes the plunge to their doom and have it be rather simple. I mean, it is a phone at the end of the day, and I hope that isn't used against me when the AI takes over. But that's about all from my first impressions. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. Hit me up on the Reddit, there's a thread on there for this video and one for this movie already, so let me know over there or in the comments down below. And until next time, take care. Alpha out.